A few months back, I did a video of a really inexpensive t-shirt all the way up to a very expensive t-shirt. And this was the most requested t-shirt for me to review. Welcome to my channel. My name is James and I like clothes and well-made things. And today I'm gonna review the Warhorse Co 4601P loop wheel t-shirt. In the video, we're gonna go over the history of Warhorse. We're obviously gonna talk about the t-shirt itself, the fit, the things that I like, the things that I dislike, and then a little conclusion at the end. But let's get into the video. Warhorse Co was established in 1995 and is a part of the Osaka 5. The two brothers that actually started the company, I'm not gonna say their name because I'll slaughter it again, I'll leave it right here, were a part of the original Evisu, and they just had some creative differences that they decided that they wanted to kind of leave. They really wanted to focus on making like vintage inspired or vintage stuff. One of their main quotes is going to be a faithful reproduction of authentic vintage garments. And they're basically like taking old denim and ripping it apart. They're actually really known for their banner denim, and the story behind that is actually quite cool. So they actually found something from like the 30s and they actually like deconstructed it and got an idea of like the exact feel and the look of the denim. And they really just focus on creating classics. But that's enough about the history. There are way better people that can be talking about that than me. And let's get into the t-shirt. This is the Warhorse Co 4601. I believe this is the P because it has the pocket, but I couldn't see anything. There's a lot of like conflicting evidence from one website to the next website. And if you go on their like official website, it doesn't translate super well. But this is a white pocket tee that is a loop wheel design. If you're familiar with loop wheeling, there's really only two places in the world that can do loop wheeling. That is going to be in Germany, and those loop wheels are owned by Mersby. So if you're familiar with t-shirts at all, you definitely know who Mersby is and the bear and things of that nature. And then this, I can't quite remember the name of the factory that does it. I really like this t-shirt. I think for me, it's got like a really cool texture. They use the term like shadow, and if you actually like hold it up to the light, you can actually see the different levels of texture. And they get that by loop wheeling the t-shirt with a number of different like thicknesses of the fabric, and it kind of gives it that kind of textury look. And I think it is super cool. The fabric itself is a bit on the lighter side, and you can kind of feel that. It doesn't feel like crazy over the top as far as like the thicker stuff like the Mersby or even like my Bronson MFG. And then the collar, if you look at it, is a folded collar with like a really textured ribbing down here. And I guess the idea behind it was it's gonna start off really tight and loosen up, but as it loosens up, it's not gonna like lose its shape. And because it's loop wheeled, you'll see that there is no side seams. And then they use single stitching on the bottom as well as single stitching on the arms to give it that like authentic kind of vintage feel. I believe this t-shirt is more inspired by like 50s and 60s. I really enjoy the fit of this t-shirt. It is kind of tight in the body and then a little bit looser in the arm. The collar is super tight, so I do hope that it actually kind of loosens up a little bit. It's funny, I like have such a thing about collars, and this one I think is gonna be like the perfect collar, but it's too early to tell. It's hard to really get an idea of what a collar feels like or what a t-shirt feels like until you've actually like worn it, and you're gonna get an idea of like real world things. But because it's loop wheeled, it fits around the body really nice. It's got like a nice snugness, and then it is a little bit longer in the arm. And I do like that fit, but it is taking me a little getting used to. I think as I wear it and it gets a wash, it will change a little bit. That's the nice thing about loop wheeling, is the fact that it's like designed to kind of like loosen up in areas where it's supposed to, and then tighten up in areas where it's supposed to as well. And the most important thing is Victoria actually likes the fit. So above anything else, if Victoria likes it or your partner likes it, then that's always a good sign. Depending on the t-shirt, I get like, you know, my chest, I start to see like my pecs, and I'm not like in super good shape right now. So sometimes when I wear a t-shirt, I can kind of like see and I feel a little bit like kind of frumpy in them. This t-shirt, you don't notice that. Even though it's super thin and it's got like kind of really interesting texture, there's not been a point where I feel like frumpy in it, which I do like quite a bit as well. This is actually more of the better length t-shirts. If you're a tall guy, this might feel a bit too short for you. I'm 5'8", about 175 pounds, and I got a large in this, and it fits me relatively well in the length. It's like at that point where it doesn't feel cropped, but it's not so long that I feel like I'm wearing a dress. Like it like hits just before my butt, which is what I want. In regards to that, I think it is pretty great. But now let's get into the things that I like and then the things that I kind of dislike. When it comes to things that I like, I really like the collar. Although it is tight, I know it will eventually loosen up as I put it over my head and wear it. I really like the color of this. I don't know how to explain it. It's got more of like a kind of a vintage white. It's not quite cream, but it's not quite like the stark white, which is nice because I think it will kind of age a little bit better. And then the texture on it is super, super cool. Like I was saying, if you hold it to the light, it just has this really interesting texture. And you can see it more when it's on the body. It's just how much texture it has with it. And I like the fact because it's more of like a 50s, 60s fit, it's tailored to somebody that's a little bit shorter. And that's important for me because I'm not super, super tall. And then in regards to dislikes, I wouldn't say that there are things that I really like dislike about it personally. There are things that like I'm kind of curious about as I wear it. Like I said, it's hard to kind of get an idea of like what it feels like without like 5, 6, 7 wears and like 1 or 2 washes. But currently I don't love the sleeve length. I prefer it to be a little bit of a shorter sleeve and a little bit of a tighter sleeve, which I find is so interesting because like typically I have the opposite. Typically it's tighter in the arms and looser in the body, but we will see. And then it's a little on the lighter side from what I'm used to. I'm not necessarily saying that as a bad thing. It's just, I'm used to these heavier weight cotton tees. And this is like that looser knit. It almost feels like that Bronson MFG, like kind of 1940s kind of slubby cotton one that I have. And I'm totally fine with that, but it is a different feel. I am a little worried that it's gonna catch on things. I am not super great with like taking care of my clothes. I do take care of them and I wash them the proper way, but I'm a little worried that like I'll be just walking down the street or I'll be playing with Lola and it'll get caught on something. Like I said, those are gonna be hard things to talk about because I don't have wear on it right now. And so it'll be interesting to see what it looks like in a month or 2 weeks. So my overall conclusion with this t-shirt, I think, is extremely positive. I really think it's super comfortable. I think the construction is cool. I love the history of it. I would say that it's at like a doable price. And when I say doable, like everybody has their own idea of what they want to spend on a t-shirt. Some people want to spend $10. Some people are okay with spending $200. 70 to me is like right at that point where it's like I have to think about it more. If it's like a $40 tee, then if it gets stained, I'll just buy another one if I like it. With this, it requires a little bit more thinking. So it is a doable price point, but I wouldn't necessarily say like it is a 100% buy every single time from a personal level at this point. I love the color of it because it's not like this stark white. It doesn't feel like I'm wearing just like a complete white t-shirt. I really love the texture. I think the texture is really nice on it. It obviously passes the girlfriend test, which I think is more important than really whether I like it or not, because if the GF or the partner or whoever likes it, then they'll want you to wear it and they'll like you wearing it, and therefore you'll get a little bit of confidence from it as well. So this is the 4601 loop wheeled warehouse tee. I really like it so far. We'll see what it looks like in a month, but thank you all for coming. Let me know if there's another tee I should check out. I'm going through my t-shirts and trying to figure out ones that I want to keep, get rid of, and upgrade, but thank you for coming. We'll chat soon. Goodbye.